Welcome back to Cinema Flicks Music Picks. I'm Davy, your host with the most and the beast with the least. And the least I can do today is defend my beloved Clash. Because 3 different occasions in the past week I've heard people say they hate the Clash. They don't get the Clash, they were fakes, they were posers, they were untalented, or they just don't like them in general, which is fair enough. That last one's totally subjective. But I love the Clash. And to prove my love for the Clash, here's the Clash Ultimate box set, the Clash sound system, which obviously is designed to look like one of your bin boxes, the Clash sound system indeed. So, with right the way around, it's all very well designed. Designed by Paul Simonon, the bass player for the band himself, who obviously went on to The Good, the Bad and the Queen with Damon Albarn. But what do you get in this? What do you get in this here box? Well, here's the first clue. What do you get? You get every album the Clash ever made, apart from one, but I'll come to that in a second. So, they're all presented in this lovely, lovely fashion. Let me just go through them quickly. So here's the Clash. They come in these exclusive digipacks. This is the UK version. So you start with Jenny Jones, which is one of the best ways to start a career ever, and you end with Garageland, which is one of my favourite tracks. I'm So Bored with the USA, Wet Riot, London's Burning became a proto for something else. Police and Thieves was a bit of a live staple, and then we come to our discs here, which are all on these Vinyl Groove replicas, and then inside each one you don't get a booklet in the traditional sense there, but you get whatever the insert was. So you get just almost a cheap, just to replicate, so you get like a cheap lyric sheet. Kind of cool, so you can sing along and you can be just as punky as Joe Strummer was on this first album. Now, a lot of people, their issue with the Clash is that they weren't punk enough. This is certainly them at their most punk. We're rating 76 this was, wasn't it? So yeah, this is them leading the charge. It was before the Sex Pistols, but the truth of the matter is they were too good to just remain that for too long. So their next album would be Give 'Em Enough Rope, which is a more refined version of the punk aesthetic that they were having on that first album. And this one, again, replica there. It all replicates what the album, if it had a gatefold or whatever, if it had an insert, it all replicates that. So on this occasion we have, the blue insert. Excuse me. Tommy Gunn, English Civil War, All the Young Punks. Probably the best 3 tracks here, certainly the best 3 known, and the ones that would remain a bit more live staples. Now, the one that really broke them in the UK, but not quite America, which I was quite shocked to discover quite recently, when Pete from Sea of Tranquility and Jamie from Let's Get Physical and Sea of Tranquility was saying that they hadn't heard until recently, or Pete had heard, but had never got into London Calling, even though Mike Portnoy told him personally to do so. But as Pete always says, you hear him with your ears and you make your own mind up. So what this does, because this was a double album, it goes and splits the CD into it, even though normal versions of the CD are just over the one disc as it would fit. It gives you the exact vinyl experience by splitting the album into these constituent parts. So once again, Wrong and Boyle opens side 2, or rather LP 2. So LP 1 ends with Guns of Brixton, the Paul Simonon vocal. it's cool to pick another album as your favourite when you're discussing these kind of bands, isn't it? You know, a bit contrarian choice. But no, this is my favourite Clash album. London Calling is one of the greatest albums ever made in my book, and that's when Jamie said that he just didn't get it, didn't like it, and Pete just cannot get into the album at all, apart from the title track, which he loves. To me, this is just non-stop, you know. Everything on here almost is just fantastic. I mean, London Calling, fantastic, obviously, it's an anthem and a half, but people seeing this almost a kind of deep track in America, where it was on the radio, but it wasn't a big hit or anything. Whereas over here, you know, people would know that as well as they know anything by the Beatles. Brand New Cadillac, looks great. Jimmy Jazz, I love that, especially when it goes quiet and Joe's just, it sounds like it's about to fall apart. And everybody sounds strung out as hell, but somehow it picks its way back up. We won't go through every track on every album. Really Can't Fail is where we really start to get a bit more of the reggae that, again, some people were a bit disappointed to start hearing the Clash getting into different sounds. But again, they were too ambitious, especially Mick Jones, to remain as quote-unquote just a punk band. So this is where we start to hear that they have two-tone, reggae, rockabilly, pop, rock. You know, they have influences from all over. And Really Can't Feel really the start of that. And then political history with Spanish bombs. I mean, we're literally going back to the Spanish Civil War there, which again we'll revisit in the next album. But that's a great Mick Jones vocal. Spanish bombs in Andalusia. The right profile. Brilliant. Excuse me. What punk band quote unquote, were writing tribute songs to Montgomery Clift in 1979? Brilliant. Lost in the Supermarket, again, a brilliant Mick track about just feeling alienation and suburban woes. And when people say they're posers, well, Mick here is saying, yeah, I'm just a white boy from the suburbs, I'm not a poor kid from the streets, you know. I mean, he's talking about suburban issues. So he's not pretending to be something that he's not. So I don't think you can really get away with the poser thing. Likewise, I don't think you can get away with the cultural appropriation thing that now some people try to accuse them of, because they took reggae and ska and things, because that was just part of the musical aesthetic of the UK at the time, with you know, bands like the Specials and things. Obviously they had Afro-Caribbean members, Neville Staples, but that was after Eric Clapton's rant. You know, on stage, the Clash were one of the major bands to call it racism in the UK and set up Rock Against Racism, along with Billy Bragg in the early 80s, Style Council and things. So, you know, I don't think you can really level charges of cultural appropriation 43 years on. I don't think that's perfectly valid, but whatever. Guns of Brixton is a Paul Simonon vocal, quite rare. LP too, you start to hear some real poppy stuff from them, you know, like The Card Sheet and Lovers Rock. I love I'm Not Down. It's got that riff that's almost like Waterloo Sunset, but turned up to 11. And then the Train in Vain is listed on here, but it wasn't on the original LP because they didn't know if it was going to be on or not. So, but it is listed on the back here. Train in Vain is one of the, I mean, if you didn't know by then that they were making pop music, then what were you doing? And again, replicates the lyric sheets exactly. So this one had pictures and things, so it replicates them exactly as they appear. Slide that back in. And there's a reason why this pops up on best ever album polls, and it isn't just the iconic album cover, it isn't just the title track, it's the eclecticism. Some of the things that people label as criticism of this album is exactly why people like me like it, because it is eclectic, it is kind of weird, and it is scuzzy, and it is all over the place. But it just shows to me that they could be more than the Pistols, more than the Stranglers, although the Stranglers were certainly more than just an early punk band. They matured too, but a totally different way, more than the Buzzcocks. They matured faster than most punk bands, put it that way. So that was, as I say, a double LP. So where do you go from double LP? Well, there's only one way, isn't there? You go to a triple Sandinista, talking about revolutionaries. So this was a triple with, if people had an issue with the London Calling, then yeah, they won't like this, because this has got even more poppy vibes. You hear Mick's big audio dynamite, days starting to come through here, and you can see why him and Joe were drifting apart. MTV was starting to come in at this point, and Mick was certainly had one eye on what was popular and what could keep the Clash relevant. Joe was still trying to be the angry young man, but we still have great songs here. Hitsville UK, Somebody Got Murdered, One More Dub, Lightning Strikes, Let's Go Crazy, Sound of Sinners, Police on My Back, great track, Washington Bullets, Kingston Vice, Silicon and Sapphire. It's not as good as London Calling, but I think that's a bit of a churlish task, expecting it to be. So again, they've done exactly what they did with London Calling here, where they've made it excuse me, if I can find it, there we go. So they've made it a 3-discer, even though it would fit on 2, no bother. But they've made it a 3-discer just to again replicate the vinyl experience. I'm not sure if that was required, but nonetheless. And once again, full lyric sheet from the insert of the vinyl, all included, which is pretty fantastic. And there's so many tracks on this that you're going to need a lyric sheet to remember a quarter of them. And from there, they went to what I only recently discovered was their biggest album in America, Combat Rock. I had no idea that this was so successful there compared to London Calling, but this is the one that brought them in America, really. And someone said that Should I Stay or Should I Go was the only real successful single they had in America, which that was a bit shocking, because Rock the Casbah is, for me, one of the most ubiquitous. It's not my favourite, but that's the one we hear on the radio a lot more here. And Should I Stay or Should I Go is a cover, isn't it? Know Your Rights, Sean Flynn, Ghetto Defendant, Death is a Star. This was them certainly going a lot more mainstream, and this was really the last gasp of the band. You can almost see it in the cover there, can't you? That Joe's covering his face, Mick's looking in another direction. You can kind of see the band drifting apart. Almost symbolically, they're back down to a single LP at this point. So they aren't producing as much as a band together. So it is more back to basics in that regard. But it's really because they couldn't stand each other anymore. And even things like the typeset on the lyric sheet looks more professional now. It's little things like that just indicate this band aren't quite as on the same page as they were just a couple albums ago, and so it proved, because this was essentially the last real Clash album. But we get, and I'll just pull them out at once here, some bonus things. But before we move on to these, I will mention, because I said that was the last real Clash album, it's not the last Clash album, because without any of the rest of the band, Joe made, and it's not included in this box because Mick Jones helped put this box together, and Joe was dead by this stage, so this was omitted, but I just put it in there. Fuck you, Mick. Cut the crap, which unfortunately you can see a lot of videos from Joe at the time saying that he wanted to go back to the Clash early aesthetic of being punky. It doesn't work, man. It doesn't work. He's got the mohawk and things, you know. He's trying to be, at this stage, he's trying to be what he thinks a punk was, and it was 6 or 7 years past his heyday of punk. He'd moved on from them without really realising it himself, and trying to recapture an earlier glory after having all that mainstream success just wasn't on the cards. So he took a couple of guys who were basically Clash fans, so you have a kind of Sid Vicious thing going on, and they didn't even play on the album as session guys, and threw them in at the deep end, and there's just nothing on here. There's nothing on here that's remotely on par with what the early Clash did. This Is England was probably the best track on it. I think that was the main single, but nothing on here stands up to even the worst track on pretty much any of those. Your mileage may vary, but I don't want air drum machines on my Clash. Mick was using them with Big Audio Dynamite, which he'd set up by that point, but they were a different band, so that's perfectly fine. Here's your Clash service manual, because it is a boombox, so you know it sets it up. So it's basically just a contents thing, and it's a bit, I don't know, it's a bit gimmicky, you know. I mean, it does it in all the different languages like instruction manuals do. I don't know, I thought that was a bit, I mean, again, Paul Simonon himself was behind the design of this set, but I think that's a bit too much personally. Here though we have sound system and sound system extras. So sound system is the actual, this is a DVD, isn't it? Yes, indeed it is. So we get a DVD included, which has got Julian Temple archive, Wait Riot promo film, Sussex University 77 footage, Don Letts medley, promo videos for Tommy Gun, London Calling, Bank Robber, Clampdown, Train in Vain, Call Up, Rock the Casbah, Radio Clash, Should I Stay or Should I Go, Live at Shea, Career Opportunities, 5 tracks from Clash on Broadway, and then a few liner notes from Don Letts himself. And then you get, you know, the Beatles past masters. You get that here basically with the Clash, with the sound system extras, where unfortunately my copy has a booklet where the staples ripped out, but this mops up everything that. It's so bizarre that they completely omitted an actual Clash album, but then did a whole set to mop up the extras that weren't included by the original Clash, which is 3 discs, I believe. Yeah, it is indeed. So there's no real excuse for omitting that other album, apart from Joe was dead and Mick didn't want it in there. So you get like White Riot, the original single, 77, interviews, B-sides, the Cost of Living EP in its entirety, Armageddon Time, the 12-inch B-side of London Calling cut. You get Magnificent Dance, which is on the singles box set, Midnight to Stevens, which is an outtake. So we're even getting outtakes and things, and they still couldn't include an actual real Clash album. Radio 1, which is a B-side to Hitsville UK. This is Radio Clash A-side and B-side with the alternate lyrics. The Bob Clare Mountain mix of Rock the Casbah, Long Time Jerk, Idle and Kangaroo Court, Sean Flynn, the Marcus music video version, Straight to Hell, the unedited version. So, and then disc 3, we have the first ever recording session from the Clash at Beaconsfield Film School, recorded by Julian Temple, I'm So Bored with USA, London's Burning, Wait Riot in 1977, and then the Polydor demos, Janie Jones, Career Opportunities, London's Burning, 77 and Wait Riot, and then from December 28, 79, City of the Dead, jail guitar doors, English Civil War, Stay Free, Cheap Steaks, and I Fought the Law. So it's pretty exhaustive, even though you miss it fucking album. But you know, what makes a deluxe set but the tat? And boy, there's some tat to come in this. So we get this little baby. You open it up. They're all in their little boxes just to really sell you the idea that this is something. And this is literally just a little notebook. The Future is Unwritten, Clash books. And it is completely blank, which is quite clever in the Future is Unwritten idea, which was nice. And that's obviously the Joe Strummer kind of mantra, isn't it? Because that was his saying, and then the documentary about him was called The Future is Unwritten. But you know, does it need its own case? I don't know. And then this. Again, you think this must be something big if it's in a case this size. Well, let me tell you. It's some dog tags which just say The Clash and originally The Clash, in case you forget from the first one. And then some replicas of the fan club buttons, which I do quite like actually, because they've done the 70s tiny buttons that you would get. They've done a couple of them in there as well, so you get a little bundle of them as well. But that's all that's in this reasonable big box. Look, do you want to think of something else or make the box smaller? However, it's the music we're here for. And then that's not all. There's our backing sheet, but I don't like showing that because it spoils what I'm about to, spend half an hour showing you. Let me get our folio, which is something I learned from Bo Diddley. Always carry your instrument on your back, Jack. Which is in a nice kind of British schoolboy folio. We all remember having these at school. And then this is full of the kind of thing that we all love to get in these sets. But this is quite remarkable. Even if you're not a Clash fan, you're going to like this, I think. This is the original Clash fanzines. Look how thick they are. So it's the Armageddon Time Special Edition. But, it's absolutely, black and white because they would have been just photocopied at the time. But they're absolutely huge things. 31, 33, 35 pages, this one. I'm running out of room here, there's so much stuff. There's that's a bit cheeky, isn't it? Hey man, I love that Clash, man. So it's full of just kind of cheeky illustrations and essays from fans and photographs from gigs, and they're all like 36 pages of full size, and just really fun, really fun. So it's like almost like tour programs without being tour programs. And then I won't show you the last one in full, but there's 3 in here. That's still not all in here. We get what every school kid Clash fan would have needed: sticker sheet. So that makes it super deluxe, not just deluxe. What do we have for entertainment? Get your car out of that gear, give it a spin, wave bye bye to the boss, ring ring at 7 a.m. Then your Clash bumper sticker for the rehearsal studios and for the Give 'Em Enough or rope. And then, and that's a set list, wasn't it? Yeah. Well, track list, yeah. So they do find fun ways of incorporating fan stuff and old memorabilia, which is really cool, and it's the kind of stuff that does make these sets that bit more deluxe than just, you know, those like 5 CD sets that are great value, but you know, they're just small clamshell things and whatever. You know, it's nice to have something that bit more luxurious when you're a big fan, which apparently nobody else is. But then that's still not all. So it's got a false bottom, ooh, our misses, which you can pull up, and it reveals this. And then when you pull up the false bottom, you go, what is this? Is it a Ghostbusters strap? No, it's... Take a whiff on this. And even this is emblazoned with the Clash on it. So I think this is what they used to call a cigarette. It's a bit like those vape pens, but you know, made of paper or something. I don't know. Must have been something they had back in the day. And then this even opens up. Oh, I'm opening the wrong side. Yes, I am. And gives you a not particularly amazing print, but it is a lithograph nonetheless. Buried in the mix, but it is there. And believe it or not, that's not all. We still have one last thing. Buried under all of that, another one. And this one's thinner, so it probably doesn't contain a football. It contains more stickers. So the Clash Take the Fifth, and then a set list, and Access All Areas Pass with the Clash Attack EPs and badges set. Yeah, it's pretty cool. But again, does this need to be in its own little case? Could that not be included in the box that had only badges in it? Yeah. I won't complain. I'm just pointing out that, you know, did a tree need to die for all these extra little boxes? This set, when it came out, was about £100. And even now, you can get it really cheap. I didn't pay more than 60 quid for mine, which is quite, you know, again, if you ain't a Clash fan, 60 quid's going to be a lot of money. But if you are a Clash fan, this is pretty much the ultimate Clash collection, man. Again, you would need to bring your own copy of Cut the Crap. You would need to bring your own copy of things that have been released subsequently, like the Shea Stadium Live disc. And then a couple of things that still aren't on this set. It's not 100% exhaustive. They've been dug out of the archives over the years. But, you know, overall, this is a fantastic box set. For me, one of the great bands of the 70s and early 80s, whose influence extends way through British music. Way through British music. You know, everybody always goes on about the influence of 60s music on Britpop, you know, Blur and Oasis and things, with the Beatles and the Stones and the Kinks and the Who. But for me, the attitude, the kind of, we know how good we are, and we're smart about it too, and we don't care if you think we're smart arses, that's the Clash aesthetic coming through. And also a lot of those bands went reggae. And if it wasn't enough evidence for me to just say that he written it, Damon Albarn recruits Paul Simonon from the Clash to join the Good, the Bad and the Queen. And Noel Gallagher played with Joe Strummer. So, you know, the influence is there. It's as clear as day for me. There's no way you could possibly have been a rock fan in the UK of that era and not at least been exposed massively to the Clash. I didn't realise how different that was in the US and that they weren't quite as big a deal apart from a couple of singles. But to most people in the UK, the Clash are a legendary, iconic band. So, and London Calling is their masterpiece. It's a great album. These albums, by the way, have been not recently now, but recently when this was put out, remastered. So it's the cleanest version you've heard of them, and the mixes are exclusive to this set. The remasters were exclusive to this set. So there's another reason to go for it. So yeah, I think if you maybe have a Clash greatest hits and like it, upgrade to this. That's all you need to do, because it'll give you everything, because you don't need that crap really, but you can still pick that up for a £5 if you really want it. And if you don't like the London Calling or something, don't bother with this, because you know you won't like it. But hey, just one man's opinion. So that's my defence of my beloved Clash. Where Mick went with big audio, some great stuff, but he went so relevant, so 80s, so contemporary that it sounds more dated. Where Joe went with the mescaleros and things, yeah, it sounds pretty great to me. And I've got some great gigs where Joe was the lead singer of the Pogues when they fired Shane MacGowan. Those are some great shows. Hearing Joe as the lead singer of the Pogues, wow, that was a match made in heaven. And then losing Joe, obviously very young, he was only 50, wasn't he? In the early 2000s. Yeah, so, but the music lives on. Paul Simonon is still out there doing his thing, and you know, the band have got their legacy, and you know, 'tis what 'tis. So, bit of a time capsule, because all that was done in about 7 years. And you know, quite a few gaps in there as well, so really quite condensed period. But yeah, the Clash, I like them. I should have just went with that and made that 10-second video, but it's Box Set Wednesdays, I have to do something. Since I saw a few people going against the Clash, I thought, I'll do a Clash video, why not? So, if you made it this far, thank you very much for watching. If you want to drop Spanish bombs on Andalusia, don't do that, it's a very bad idea. And leave a comment if you like the Clash, hate the Clash. And by the way, Robert, this is the shirt I was wearing that had been mistaken for the doctor, for the surgeon. Take care, everybody, and let's do me a favour, just be careful out there. Love and mercy, my dears. Love and mercy. See you next time.